Welcome back to this edition of the Gaming Tailgate Podcast. I am CDJ, joined by Tommy and JBHuskers. Guys, days away now. We're getting closer and closer, but I'm ready for the actual day to be here.
For sure. I mean, yeah, it's I didn't get the MVP, so I was worried I was gonna have to sit on the sidelines. But if you get the EA play, then you can still play the 10 hours starting July 2nd. So there's at least that.
We thought Tommy was going to be left out because he didn't get the MVP bundle. We were going to rub it in his face for those
Just the
several
lowly
days.
deluxe version.
It will be the fastest 10 hours in history, though.
It will be.
Do not
Always
grab any
is.
snacks while you just play. Do not pause.
I did at least have to research. Technically, I could subscribe on PlayStation, then Steam, then EA if I really wanted to get like 30 hours in it.
So you're set. You're good then.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yep.
This show, let's do our presentation, our sights and sound deep dive. This is something that we got to see some of this in beta. Some of it was very much not there. So the good part is the blog goes into a lot of detail. But I think come retail, I think there's going to be surprises. I don't know that for a fact, so don't hold me to it. But I get the feeling that since we didn't get to see everything or hear everything in the beta, seeing it in retail will be a nice surprise. We just have to hope that those pre-release YouTube videos don't spoil everything if there are any surprises. The blog starts off with Christian Brandt breaking down just kind of the goals of what's going on. And we see right off the bat a lot of new cutscenes in the game, the mascot sitting on the wall, and they break into, what they consider pageantry. And it's interesting what they consider pageantry and traditions and atmosphere, a lot of synonymous terms, but they mention new traditions, new mascots, light shows, drone shows, chants, rivalry trophies, and atmosphere moments that better represent the schools. And right off the bat, a new drone show for Oregon doing his push-ups. Behind the scenes of how they did the Vanderbilt dropping the anchor in the pregame. Boise State's turnover skulls, Vanderbilt's guitar solo, the belt from Missouri State. It's interesting when they always show. I like when they show stuff like this for the FIU 305 belt, like the art asset, but not actually in use. I mean, that way when you play as FIU, for example, it's going to be, it's there, but you haven't seen exactly how it's going to play out in the game. Eastern Michigan with the Maccoon turnover chain. And the Baylor line going to be back in the game. This is something that I one thing was in the 25 pre-release. I don't think it was 26 beta, but then magically it was not there for retail. That's those fans on the field. Something interesting, 30 plus authentic student section banners. I mean, they really are really nailing and going after a lot of the pregame atmosphere items. Is that kind of your guys' feel on this as well?
Yeah, I mean, you can always continue to add new stuff. Things change every year, but then also just, new additions that they've never tackled. Like you said, the banners in the stands and stuff like that. I'll be curious to see kind of how that like actually rolls out and, do you actually see anything more? Is it just a quick pan to it? It's there and then pan away or something. But
Like a 2 second
but
thing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, it's
cool.
nice. I mean, just to at least acknowledge it and kind of bring
Right.
some of that into the game.
Like some of those iconic moments. Like if you're a fan of a school like Ohio State, I'm sure I probably thought they assumed they did something like this, but I don't know that I knew specifically what it looked like, what they did. So a good addition. 90 new chants. I don't know if any of those were in the beta. And like I say, 90 new, and we get to learn 5. So there'll be a lot of surprises in there come retail.
Well, and it says 90 new and revamped. So it could be 5 new
Fine.
and 85 revamped.
I
Well,
think you're right, unfortunately. This is the big
But
one.
as I
Go
say,
ahead.
it is nice that they highlighted 2 small schools with Georgia
Mhm.
State and Kennesaw State. At least acknowledge that it's not just the big schools that are getting the attention. So yeah, that's at least nice to see. Nice to see.
I know they
And
said going back to last year, their goal was to have something unique for each team, something tied to that team that team's fans are gonna notice and like.
do you think the tarps at the EMU stadium count as something unique and special? It actually has for realism. I mean, I know people like to joke and bag
Yeah.
on the teams that have to tarp off, some of the sections, but UCLA tarps off their stadium, but it's
Now, what if
massive
you?
UCLA signs, and they're not there in the game. To me, it doesn't look realistic because they don't fill up the stadium like that. They have a lot of it
Yeah.
roped off or sectioned off. That when I saw the background of EMU in one of these videos or pictures and saw that it was tarped off, I'm like, okay, that looks realistic. That looks really cool. I thought that looks better than the Rose Bowl, for example, for UCLA because they lacked that part of it.
What would be cool is if you start turning them into a winning program, obviously you can upgrade facilities and stuff. That'd be kind of cool that they're removed and people fill those parts of the
Mm,
stadium now.
that'd be way cool.
Yeah, that's a stretch.
I know.
He didn't say realistic, he said cool.
I
New
said hope.
mascots. This is something that with Mascot Mashup returning, I think is more of an interest to people because they want to know, is their school in there? Are they represented? The blog says they have 35 new mascots, and I have anybody follows us on social media at Gaming Tailgate on Twitter. We've been kind of tracking what we believe are the 119. And what's interesting is EA, depending where you look or listen, the most recent on their X feed, mascot mashup video, they say we have 119 mascots in the game. If you read the deep dive blog for mascot mashup, it says there's going to be 120. If you read the Amazon product listing, for example, and I'm sure it's the same for all of the retailers, it says 120 plus icons. So what's the exact number going to be? I'm going to go roll with the 119 because I think we have gone through and figured out. I think we know the 119. I mean, people have asked us on social media, and we put out the list of the schools we think that do not have a mascot in the game. And as we mentioned on the previous show, some schools don't have a costume mascot. What's unclear is though, of the remaining, I think 15 that have a costume mascot, give or take, will they add any post release? That there's a lot in the deep dive blog for Mascot Mashup that says, at launch we do this, at launch we have that. I mean, I infer that to mean we could or will, but they have not definitively said that.
Are they saying 119 mascots or 119 schools? Because some schools have multiple mascots.
The way I take it is
Yeah,
one, they have one per school in there, even if they do have two in the game. They pick just one to be in the mashup, which I think is, if you had the other asset in there, why wouldn't you put both?
yeah.
Because
Is Oklahoma the only one that has the two in the game
NC
already? Like,
State,
don't they have the male and female?
I think, and like Joey said, I think NC State does. Does
D-
Florida
I
have both
thought
theirs?
I thought you could choose either one in the beta for NC State.
When I skimmed through the beta, I thought it was just one per school. I could be
Hmm.
wrong on that, but I'm
I could have sworn that both were in there.
maybe I overlooked it. I know when I went through and was trying to figure out who was missing,
Yeah.
I thought it was just one, but it could be wrong. Could be wrong on that. Here's a look at Indiana's mascot in the game. I will say in the beta and even here, just way too dark. Something's off with the lighting. JB couldn't even make out what that was at first when it was on the screen and we happened to play and saw it. He didn't know what it was because it's just very, very dark. UAB gets a mascot in. They mentioned they reworked some of the I believe the pregame stuff. So this might be a new look at Alabama's band formation. It's not really clear on some of these pictures what we're supposed to be specifically looking for. The menu is something that I think is actually pretty cool. Yeah, it's lengthy on this side with all the options, but I do like that better than the 26 where it pulls up some of your most recently played modes. Like just the game isn't that mode heavy yet that you can't just put most of them on one screen. And I like what's on the right side with the field and like the EA Sports cover over here and there's a school specific icon here and helmets. I, I
Mhm.
I like the menu a lot in 27, especially compared to 26.
To me, 27's menu was a lot slower to navigate
I agree
through
with that.
compared to 26. That's the only problem I have with it.
Maybe that'll be
That was going
optimized
to be
come
my
retail.
concern. Yeah, if this is a 3D menu and if that, like for example, that blimp is flying around and things shift or
Mm,
whatever, then yeah, I could see the menu being a lot slower. And to
It's
me, the
it
benefit's
was.
not worth it in that case. But
Yeah,
uh,
as soon as I got back to 26, I noticed how much snappier the menus were.
yeah, that's something I'll be curious to see. I mean, like, for example, in the Dynasty videos I've saw, it looked like the player, like if you're in the menu for the Dynasty, it looks like the player or the coach is more of a static shot instead of moving around. So again, something like that in theory speeds up the menus. So I'll be curious to see, how that translates once they launch.
That's interesting you say that because they didn't really hype that up in the Dynasty blog, but the interface for Dynasty did get improved. And I generally think it's improvement. Some of the player shots in those are really impressive, like visually, the different poses they have. It looks pretty realistic. And that's one of those that some of the text is larger. The playoff logo or banner, how they do it is pretty cool. I mean, it's better. There's a few small things I don't like with it, but that's nitpicking, so I won't even bring those up. But overall, even the Dynasty interface improved, and he really hasn't mentioned that, but I think it's worth mentioning. Here we get into the details. I don't know if you mentioned all these, but some that the community asked about. or asked for. Headsets on the coaches were on the sideline. New coach models. That's something in the most recent video that came out for the developers showing. We saw they added accurate shoes for the coaches, branded shoes in for the coaches, and like the Marcus Freeman model looks just like him with the, the elastic on the pants on the joggers, just below his knee pulled up. I mean, pretty realistic. Over 55 schools have updated run out pyros. 32 schools have new run out band tunnels. I believe Alabama was spotlighted as one of those. Run out props, more band formations, team specific custom backplates. That's something that I believe there's about 16 of them, if I remember correctly. And Notre Dame is one that was highlighted. In 26, it's worth mentioning for all the schools, they just took like a team logo and put it on the backplate. Whereas in real life, a lot of schools have specific ones. Notre Dame's in real life is not the ND logo. It is play like a champion in the style of the font from the sign they touch every day, and that's in the game. Small touch. If you're a fan, you can tap that sign and see that, and also now on the backplate.
One thing I'm curious that I haven't seen mentioned, it mentions new coach models. Like you mentioned the shoes. Is Can you actually do more adjustments to your coaching model, like give them a hat or give them a visor or whatever? Before it's the hat went with the coach head, basically.
And I also wonder if this just is specifically referring to the licensed coaches in the game and not necessarily the user created. But that is a good question.
I think you can choose your hat this year.
We'll find out on July 2nd. Be all surprised at the same time.
I'm pretty sure I saw those options when I was creating my coach for my simming for the recruiting dynasty I did on there.
I don't remember. That's a good point, JB. I wish I'd pay attention to that. I sure didn't. As you can see in the picture behind me, we have striped bibs and Tennessee checkerboard bibs. For the striped bibs, Penn State's the one here. I know Nebraska got their red and white. New stadium beauty cameras. I don't know if that means internal or external for the stadium. I'm guessing mainly probably internal, showing different points of interest than maybe inside the stadium, like make sure, between plays showing like a scoreboard or maybe angles you see in real life. I'm assuming that's what that means. And more crowd themes added. And as we know, you can now select those crowd themes in pregame, which is a huge addition to customize your experience.
Yeah, I agree. The worst thing was going with, all black jerseys, but then the crowds in, white and red or something like that,
Right.
at Stanford. So, yeah, it's nice to at least be able to coordinate that way.
Here's a look at some of the pregame stuff. Nevada has their shield. Here's the bibs we mentioned. Here's a look at the Dynasty interface. Like I don't think they've ever singled out specifically that they've overhauled or improved it. Like you said, this is a static image. This is not like in 26 where the coach could stand there and kind of move back and forth. Generally, those all, and like landing here looks pretty good. I'm not saying it's a dead ringer for him, but I mean, it's close enough that I would know who that was.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know in some of the, go ahead.
I was going to say the coach shifting around behind you didn't add anything. I mean, it's not like he did anything. It was just shifting. So, yeah, it'd be nice if like basically going through the menu that once you're on coach, so it shows the coach. If you go to team, then maybe it shows a player and so forth, something like that. But either way, I mean, again, it looks nice on the screen. Just, make the menus fast enough to where I don't get tired of seeing the same thing over and over.
Because generally the layout is still the same from 26 up here to like in Dynasty going through the menus, which I'm of the mindset they kind of need to overhaul a little bit, but I don't know how you do that without, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Find ways to make the stuff that you need more pertinent or surfaced, but it's one of those things people are so used to it, they probably didn't want to revamp the pre-play controls and also the Dynasty menu all in one year. And, it'd be a little too much. Rivalries are different. This is interesting. This picture was one of the first ones that came out. And then when you saw it in game, it doesn't quite look like this. I don't know if you play a night game, you get this effect. But very much like when we saw the clip of it, it's very much in a hallway, much more well lit than this. But it is cool that they want in the rivalry games. And Ohio State Michigan's the one that when they brought this up, they want people to check out that pregame. A little bit of talking trash in the joint hallway together.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few pictures that came out, during the original Blitz that the lighting just seemed like it was something we had never seen in the game before and probably never will see in the game.
Hollywood effects.
Yeah, Hollywood effects or whatever. Maybe they were toying with the idea of having something like that in there at some time and decided not to, or something we'll see at the end. But yeah, it's some of those you can tell the lighting is totally different than what we've seen before, and
Hmm.
I hope that they bring that in, but you also have to make sure that it looks right when you do that, you know.
Right. More of a road to glory thing here, but it talks about how, when you can be on the sideline and kind of stay in the moment, air quotes, you're not really taken in and out. It's one of those that it's a presentation thing, yes, but also it's a road to glory thing at the same time. Some of the new stadiums, Northwestern has new Ryan Field in the game, and Gillette Stadium is in the game. They mentioned stadium improvements, no specifics, but Eastern Michigan, I believe part of that is the tarps are in there. Missouri, I know in real life, got a new video board. I think they might have redone that kind of that M zone with the M and the rocks is a little different. Memphis was going through a big expansion at FedEx. I don't know if the field art got updated. I hope the field art did to match what they did with the stadium. Boise State also with the stadium expansion. Army, I believe, wrapping up their stadium expansion as well. So I'm assuming those are all the specifics of what they mean with those stadiums. They say and more. Would love, this is one of those, I understand keeping some things secret, but I think just giving a vague which stadiums to go check out would be welcome. That's one where I don't want the and more. That one's where I want the list.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a cover because then you don't know if your school actually was covered or not, so you can't immediately go complain, why didn't you fix my stadium or whatever. But
Right.
at the same time, yeah, I wish they would have the list of, things to go check out on day
Mm.
one.
Uh, Ryan Field, here's a look at it. Be interesting to see how, obviously they go with a lot, I believe, off mock-ups here and maybe some photo reference as it was being built. It'd be interesting to see when it comes to final how close it is. I'm sure it's very close, don't get me wrong, but I'm sure what little quirks did Northwestern put in that maybe EA is not aware of that we'll need to look for in 28, for example.
I still want them to add the Lakeside
I
Stadium
do
just as
too.
a, you know, some
Alternate
kind of
or
secret stadium you have to unlock for Ultimate Team or whatever.
it's so cool.
Just yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. This is something we knew from as well. The Heisman ceremony is in the game. Kind of cool. We mentioned on the Dynasty breakdown that at least in the beta, it only shows you four contenders all year, which is a step back. I wonder if that's tied to this award show for some reason. I don't know why it would be, but it makes me wonder that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, at least, early in the season, show like top 10 or something
Hmm.
like that. And kind of give an idea that we don't know who it's going to be. Don't rank them in order of, 1 through 10. I mean, maybe in preseason you do, but then after that, stop doing it. But kind of don't give me the answer before the actual ceremony happens.
Right. I mean, they have some pretty impressive graphics with it. When it shows you the finalists, and I believe it shows you the stats at some point, and then you have Fowler announcing the winner, so to speak.
I'm assuming there's no, speech by the player or anything like
I
that.
think they just stand there and maybe lift the trophy or
They
hold the
live.
trophy,
Yeah,
and
that's
that's
all they do.
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
And
And
then
that makes sense.
Chris Fowler says for the 2026 season every year.
I'm sure that'll
I
get
hope they
fixed.
fix. Yeah,
They've got to fix
Confident
that.
that'll get fixed.
good thing they
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
put Sorsby in this picture.
I'm sure they were on double scare probation on that one.
100%. I'm surprised they have Chambliss in there, in fact, though.
Right?
New gear. This is probably the presentation item that got the biggest community support. Was just more equipment coming to the game. Some of the examples they give here: hanging mouthpieces, team logos on towels, smaller shoulder pads, new rolled up jersey and undershirts, clear reflective visors, waist worn play call sheets, new captains patches, and much more. I'm interested to see the captains patches if that's because not every school has it. I'm not even sure a majority of schools in real life have those. I have heard people say, I believe it was on Reddit, they were talking about that they had found in the beta that, if you name someone a captain, that player has the accurate captain's patch, but they did not give a school example on that. So I think that could be pretty cool. Again, I'd love to know which schools to go check that out on retail.
Well, and what's interesting, they don't mention it anywhere, but if you look at this screenshot from Florida State, those are practice jerseys. I mean,
Hmm.
they have no logos on them. The quarterback's wearing a green jersey. So I mean, that's kind of a nice addition. It's not a huge one, but it's,
It helps.
nice little effect.
And I
Yeah,
like
and you
I
got
like
the
the new
new.
practice venue too.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you can actually. It's pretty cool because you can see people walking on the outside of the windows too while you're doing practice mode. It's like it's actually just it feels like it's in a a real life situation and not just contained into the field. You could see traffic, I think, even drive by and people walking around the campus and things like that.
Yeah, it's a small touch, but it adds up, especially when anyways like us, they spend a lot of time in practice mode. Now, if the actual
Yeah.
practice mode would get some improvements, that'd be even better. But at least visually, it's pretty sharp this year. It's an improvement. New broadcast packages is something that when got kind of teased on the product listing from Amazon that came out early, people wondered if that meant ESPN. Does that mean Fox? No, it just means that the wipes and banners have been, generally speaking, been improved or changed for 27. And they talk about, obviously the banners, presentation elements, but there's storylines. They talk about new pacing and framing across the broadcast, narratives, visual variety, and how key moments are presented. Here's an example of like it seems like it's like ESPN without being ESPN. Like it's very to me, this is very, very close to what you might see on an ESPN broadcast historically. The style and layout.
For sure. It was inspired by ESPN. I will say I do like the players that are posed and it looks more like a real world photograph instead
Yes.
of, it looks like it could have been pulled and actually a real photograph. So,
That's a, that's a small thing that I noticed through playing the beta. They need a lot of credit for how good those all look.
yeah, it's not just a headshot or something
Hmm.
like that. It's an actual pose. Even the one for like the Heisman one that we looked at a minute ago, it's a pose, but it would be one that you would have for real world scenario. No, it's not gameplay, but it's kind of like a posing for a photograph or something like that.
And they're all different. Like they put a lot of
Yes.
variety in. I didn't feel like, at least in the beta, I did not feel like it was overly repetitive on the menus at least. Now, granted, who's to say a week into the game might have a different opinion, but playing for that long weekend, I didn't feel like it was, the same images every time. This is the only one I have a small complaint for, and the same thing that I believe 26 had. It doesn't give the player a year when they do the player wipe. That's something that I understand in the pros, you don't really care necessarily what year someone is, but in college, you very much want to know, want to care. Part of it is when you play against someone, even if it's just a fan cheering against a team, sometimes you'll see someone pop up who makes a big play, and on the graphic in real life will come up and say, "This just for the example here, it says that he's a junior." You'll think, well, that guy's been there 5 years. How could he be a junior? I mean, that's one of those things you always kind of think about. Like, I can't believe that guy's been there. It's only his third year. I thought it was his fourth or fifth. Conversely, if somebody is, say, is a freshman, you'd like to know that because if they torch you up, then you have that storyline in your head like, oh no, I got to face this guy for at least a couple more years. Just a small touch on this player whip. I wish they would add that back in. I can't remember if 25 had that or not. I want to think it did.
Is this during the game
Yes.
or is this okay? It's
Yeah.
not like a player of the week highlight or something
This
like
is
that.
this is he just made a big play. Like in 26, it starts off with that big zoom in of the name, and then it pans out to the face shot and their name in the middle, I believe. This was what will transition in, like when it shows a replay of a big play that he just made. Visuals help tell a story. Again, they talk about more of the storyline system they have. And I'm not sure this was all fully in the beta. Some of this was obviously having around the country updates. Yes, I will say my opinion was that it showed the upsets, which yeah, that happens in real life, but it feels like it only showed the upsets. So then your storyline in your head is like, there's too many upsets in the game. Whereas in real life, yeah, you get the upset reports because they're big and massive, but you also get like the top 5 or 10 steamrolling their opponents. So it's a balance because obviously nobody's going to care if Georgia beats Arkansas State 59-0. Sorry, Tommy.
Oop.
But at the same time, if they're number one in the country, that is going to be something you get a lot in a halftime report.
Hmm.
Just a tough balance on that. But it is cool though. I mean, and here's a look at that.
And it did seem like, at least with the audio part of that in online dynasties, it would tie into your other users in your dynasty usually. So I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah,
Mm.
when you're just playing yourself with like a solo dynasty, then yeah, this is going to be definitely a nice welcome addition to kind of add some variety to it.
It's really well designed. I'm just interested to see when the retelling comes out how they did with Dynasty, what matchups they pick to highlight at halftime.
Yeah, it you can kind of see to me 26 is a little shallow when it comes to that. There's only a
Mm.
handful of storylines that actually, get talked about. So yeah, I'm curious to see if it actually, expands upon that.
Holly Rowe joins as a sideline reporter. They've highlighted several times she'll talk about the weather. I don't think I ever caught a single mention of the weather in the beta, so obviously I think that's still to come. That could be really well done, but obviously not enough was in place to have a really strong opinion on that. And Joel Klatt joins the team. We talked about that kind of when that broke or came out before that Herb Street something happened. Is not in the game this year. Joel Klatt now is kind of the big game voice for the playoffs. He will join Fowler for those.
I thought it was pretty seamless, his addition into that with Fowler.
Yeah, I didn't think he was bad at all. The few games I had listened to, but obviously, let's get 20 games into playing with the big game crew and see if we have that same opinion. They
I'm
mentioned
curious for Holly Rowe, is it basically kind of like what we had with Aaron Andrews years before? I mean, just kind of, speaking up every now and then to add something in between plays or something, or
at least in the beta, it always starts off with her pregame opening is a lot of times tied to the stadium. Like, oh, this is the second oldest stadium in the country, or this is the oldest stadium in the country. These fans are really fired up. I didn't really get to the point where she talked about injuries or the changing weather. So I'm assuming that was not implemented for the beta. So
That'd be cool to That'll be cool to have if that's especially if you have like a star player injured to kind of give you an audio update of where they're at while you're playing instead of having to pause and look at the injury screen or something like that or wait for the pop up a few plays down the line uh, to see how serious it was. I think that'd be really cool if they do, especially the injury side of that as often as you have a starter getting hurt.
I would hope the wear and tear is better because I don't. What's she
So,
going to say when you're a star player? You have injuries
goes
every
out
two
and then
minutes,
goes out and then goes out and then yeah.
or when wear and tear pulls out a running back and he never comes back in. If it was smart to realize, like, why? And there's just a lot of things that has taken into account. Hopefully, it all works out.
he had a cramp and he's got one red bar for the rest of the day.
They mentioned the commentary now pays attention, or at least more than in the past.
They weren't before.
Well, if they improved it, I'm going to guess they felt that it probably wasn't the greatest. Again, dynamic
Yeah, I
weather.
mean, to me, one of the bigger problems was that they talk too long once you start the next play. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know that you want a big abrupt stop, but at the same time, yeah, keep the
Sometimes,
stories a little bit shorter, I think.
yeah, sometimes it would last into the whole next play. Like it almost was 2 plays long as for their commentary.
Mm-hmm. Dynamic weather. We've talked about this, I think, the last 2 or 3 shows now. But I mean, just
Hey, it's in the game.
rain and snow intensify over time. They evolve by play. They've improved the rain visuals. They mentioned the more noticeable effect on the overall feel of the game. I know in the previous versions, I don't know that it. I mean, yeah, I could tell it took a little bit of effect, but never felt like it was as massive as maybe the community might want. Visual impacts are stronger this year. New field degradation, enhanced player visual uniform degradation. I thought in the beta that was really well done. The uniforms did get dirty. They did look good getting dirty. Looked realistic.
Field looked torn up a little bit in the middle.
Yeah, small touches, but they go a long way.
Like that one with the Ohio State running back, you can see splashed water underneath
Mhm.
him.
Mm-hmm.
And here the SMU one is supposed to represent being dirty, but it's not as. I wish they'd give a stronger example here for the blog because in the game it
This is a
looked better.
corner. Corner doesn't
Oh, maybe
look
that's.
dirty.
Oh, true. Good. As we kind of expected, the marching band covers will be back for the menus for College Bowl 27. They mentioned some of the songs here, and MAGIX, who always seems to have the inside info, able to have the full soundtrack shared. So take it with a grain of salt, but his stuff is usually pretty accurate. Now, what's interesting is, yes, a lot of these are the songs that the blog officially mentioned, but then we knew this was coming. This was mentioned by EA. There's some songs from the old NCAA football games that are now in the game this year that will be playing in the menus. The U is one of those, and I believe the running game is the other. And those are songs that if you hear them, if you're a longtime fan and played NCAA football, you will recognize them instantly.
So trap's a naughty word, apparently.
I've noticed that. I don't know. Does the real song have those edited like that? And when it's written out, I don't know.
Maybe. I don't
But
know.
whoever decided to put in like the old songs, that was the easiest win ever. Like, thank goodness. They could have easily taken an approach of anything from the past we cannot do or cannot bring in. What's interesting, they have some songs from other EA titles. The one specifically I know for here is the Normandy Reborn is from the Mass Effect.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder how
Yeah, and I
those
mean,
go
to me,
over. It's cool because I'm sure it has a band feel, but
I'll be curious, is it a band recording or is it just a rip from the original soundtrack from Mass Effect?
that's a good
It's
question.
oh yeah. Like in the blog it shows the 19 band recordings, but yeah, I don't know. I like those. I like the band covers of newer songs. I thought that added kind of added to the game because you got the band flavor for your college football, then you got some newer songs that they're covering. I thought that was a good idea that they did that
Oh, it's
this
a tremendous idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a
What's
lot.
interesting is that a lot of marching bands like to always have like the 70s tributes too. There's a lot of bands that play a lot of old stuff too, and they didn't really get into that too
Yeah, that's not
much.
really.
I mean, yeah, they do
Yeah,
some
like
new stuff, but
it's
I'd
gonna be
say I
pretty
see some
fun.
Aerosmith on there, so
It's gonna be pretty cool to see like I Write Sins Not Tragedies and like the next episode, a
mm,
band version of that. That'll be kind of cool to hear.
yeah, there's some good ones.
yeah. I will say in 26, honestly, probably after a month or so, I turned off all the menu music. Um,
Mm.
I mean, I enjoyed it, but at the same time, it just kind of got repetitive to me. So, I'll definitely give these a shot. But yeah, after a time, it's just the same songs over and over.
And they added a bunch here because I think 26 had 26 songs, and it looks like I haven't done the count on this, but it looks like they must have realized, like you told me, like even 26 songs can get repetitive pretty quickly for guys who, if you play the game, you're living in the menus a lot. I mean, you don't have a choice.
Did
Yeah.
they add a few in the middle of the year too?
I think they did to get to 26. I could be wrong. Maybe that took it
Right.
over, but they did add a few, I believe, after launch.
Hmm.
Well, and only some of the um, fight songs were even
A
on the
handful.
menus. Like what was it like 5 or 10 or something like that? Wasn't
Yeah,
very
it was
many.
like,
Somehow
yeah.
Arkansas State got in there though.
Well, we know how Arkansas State got in there.
Yeah, you had what? Colorado, you had, was it Navy, Wake Forest? It was just a few. I
Yeah,
wonder,
Yeah.
not
I wonder if some
not
of
many.
those, if they swapped those out for another 5 or 10 this year, which would make sense.
Plus the band songs, like not the actual, you know, actual music, but the band songs.
Mhm. They do mention that, I think some of the in-game music, those songs are back. Zombie Nation, Seven Nation Army, Swag Serpent, Sandstorm, etc. They do mention at the end of this block here that Narco from Timmy Trumpet is also going to be in the game. They've gone in and looked at the crowds as well, improvements to crowd density, crowd presence, overall stadium energy, and how the game feels from different presentation angles. Interested to see come retail what that all means exactly. I'm assuming crowd presence means noise, but they don't specifically say it like that.
And I'm guessing density is just, if you
Go
are having a
full.
poor season, then you just start out with a poor stadium. But I would like to have dynamic attendance come back
Yes,
to where later in
Hmm.
the game they start to, shuffle out.
especially when you're losing at home. And
Yeah,
that was always demoralizing, but yet cool at the same time.
for sure.
Here's an example of being able to pick that crowd theme in pregame. It's interesting. Sometimes in their vernacular, it doesn't always match up. They call it crowd theme everywhere else. When you get to the menu, they call it crowd pattern. Small thing, but interesting how it doesn't match up. They do have a new modular camera setting to help make your own gameplay camera package with over 16 options. I did not see this or plays with this in the beta. I'm not sure it was there. I'll be honest, I don't know that I looked for it, but again, this is cool. People have wanted to be able to adjust those. So, I mean, this is a welcome addition.
Yeah, I didn't. I don't guess I haven't even seen or read about this. So yeah, this is a nice addition. I'll definitely play around with it, but I'm curious, like how much control you actually have over those.
Right. It's something we did a couple shows ago, and I want to bring it back. Like, if there's like a big community issue that maybe has flown under the radar, to bring it up and highlight it. This is something that True Burgo sent to a bunch of people, some who work for EA, some who are out in the community like us. There's an issue that he says has been in. I've seen this mentioned online. I can't say I can vouch for it, but I have seen this before for 25 and 26, a cut squads desync bug. And I'll read this. He says the desyncs are out of control. At least on PlayStation, when there's 6 users in the lobby, it's guaranteed that at least one user will get desynced within the first minute of the game, guaranteed. No huddling will also cause users to get desynced as well. He says to make matters worse, after getting kicked, even after saying the issue won't cause a loss against your team record, we still catch a loss many times being in the playoffs. He said this has been going on for 2 years straight with no resolution or even type of feedback from the EA devs. Please help. I wish I could help more. The best thing we can do is bring it up and hope somebody who's listening to the show sees this, maybe gets it to somebody at EA who can adjust and get this fixed. But that is very frustrating. Legacy issues, I think, are the biggest Achilles heel to the franchise so far. And this sounds like this is a bad one. This is more than just typos or missing features. This is we can't even play this mode without massive ramifications.
Yeah, I wonder if this is something they can recreate, 100% of the time, or if it's just the right scenario with the right people or something like that. If EA can recreate it easily, then yeah, it has to get fixed. If it's something that they can't recreate, then you're gonna have a tougher time there.
I know I've seen people talk about that online before, but This is probably the one motor thing that I have not tried in 25 or 26 is cut squads. So maybe on 27 we'll have to give it a try to see if we can get this same issue to emerge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With that, we're going to wrap up this edition of the Gaming Tailgate Podcast. Sights and sounds presentation. Again, very welcome. What surprises will there become retail? I'm sure there's going to be a lot, and we're looking forward to going on social media and seeing what those are as people find them, and then checking them out firsthand. Go play those matchups that they find those specific team details for. For Tommy and JB, I'm CDJ. Everyone, thank you for watching and listening to this edition of the Gaming Tailgate Podcast. Launch is almost here.